Right. Good afternoon, folks. Thank you again for coming to this town hall meeting. So again, what we're going to do is go through an update of where we have been since our last town hall and give you an update on some of the great things that we've been working on to better support you. With that, before we get started, ma'am, we'll turn over to you for any opening comments. That's quite all right.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks again for coming out today. Thanks to our residents and thanks to our community partners and also all of our wing team here that's up in the front and fifth row or third row, whatever, right there. But I'm Laura Lenderman. If I haven't met you yet, I'm the 502nd Air Base Wing Commander here at JBSA San Antonio. And housing falls under my portfolio, my responsibility to provide oversight. And to my right is Colonel Scott Thompson, the executive agent here at Lackland. To my left is our Balfour Beatty team. Balfour Beatty, did I say Balfour Beatty? I did, right? Ty and Allison. So they are here with their team, all in blue. Looks like they've got a strong showing tonight, so to answer any of your questions. In the front row, we've got our legal team, our command chief, our EA command chief, our deputy director, civil engineering team, medical team, security forces in the back there. Awesome, thanks for coming. So we have a couple of slides we wanted to walk through, just show some things that we've accomplished since the last meeting, and then open it up to your questions and concerns. With that, I'll turn it back over to Richard.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's go to the next slide, please. Let's go to the next slide. So we wanted to do from the last town hall is basically give you a quick update on some of the things that we have done since that last town hall based upon the feedback that we received from the residents. So when you look at the things that we have done, so there were some issues about some safety concerns as it applied to covering some holes, repairing some sewer line caps, where potentially some children could get into those, from a safety perspective. Those were all basically taken care of, completed, and they were actually filled in or they were properly resolved. There was also a concern in terms of some of the mowing along the perimeter on the backside of Aaron Scott Village, as well as on Franklin Heather West, where we're having potentially the feral hogs and some of the critters out there. So what we did is we are continuing to track and capture hogs, as well as we mowed at the back to give kind of like a buffer zone between the fence and the actual wooded area, so we can better see animals coming in and out, so where we can try to track them better and really try to prevent them from wanting to come into the housing area. We also did, you should have seen the referral package that was sent out from the housing office. Some that our legal folks did to help you get a better understanding, a better awareness, and better walkthrough steps in terms of the referral process. We also did street lights, so this is something that was pretty much done out where what it was is that we had kids that were actually going out and turning the lockbox, or turning the breakers off of the lockbox. So what we did is we took the electrical box, we locked it up, so that now the kids can't have an opportunity to turn off the breaker, turn off the lights from that perspective. I mean, that's what happens to kids when you're meeting kids. You got something fun to do. Everybody should have gotten a copy of the consumer conflict report that we had out there. We also sent out the 1-800 number for the Afghan or the Air Force helpline. The last two are ongoing. The paid crosswalks. We're working through our traffic safety working group to highlight the crosswalks, areas that we want basically paint. We're going to do that during the summer while school is out. So we want the painting to be fresh, that when school starts up, that those crosswalks are freshly painted and visible, so when our children go out there and start walking to school, that they become easy for everybody to go ahead and take a look at. Also, in terms of the oversight, we're constantly working with us and BBC to make sure that we're addressing residents' concerns, whether it's addressing work orders, whether it's addressing issues on the Air Force side that we can do, such as some of the pest management issues that we're working on. That is pretty much done on a daily basis to try to address whatever concerns that may be out there. Any questions? Next slide, please. So with that, I'll turn it over to BBC to give an update on what they've been doing from this point forward.
Good evening. So since the last town hall, we've received 93 action items since the first town hall and the surveys that went out with the Housing Management Office. Of those, we've completed 90. 3 of the outstanding items are capital projects, that we are working towards getting completed over the next 6 to 8 months as we work through the funding for those. We're doing 100% callback on all of our completed work orders to ensure that there's customer satisfaction. If there's something we missed on any of those callbacks for the work orders, then we make sure that we generate a new work order to take care of that. In March, we completed a work order count of 742. In April, we completed 807. So we've definitely been out there getting those work orders completed for you. We're actively training several new staff members to make sure that they have the training necessary to go ahead and complete those work orders. And then we're also promoting that online resident portal for work order tracking and updates so that you can get updates real time of any work orders and what's been completed and taken care of. One of the things that we did update with our work order survey, I know that was feedback that we had gotten from the team here, was that they're no longer being sent out once a week. Those surveys aren't. They're being sent out the next morning after a work order has been completed so that the residents, and they do have the work order number actually on the survey, so it refers back to that specific work order so that they know what that survey is attached to. So we've seen a lot more feedback as a result of that. Our numbers went up from about 15% response rate to now over 20% response rate on those work order surveys, and our scores went up too. So that's something we're really excited about to share. Again, we're constantly trying to improve that quality of service. Next slide, you have seen this one before, but again, we just want to make sure we reiterate that we are here to help. If there's a question or a problem or an issue, we want you to take advantage of any of the opportunities to make sure that you let us know. My office is always open. Our maintenance team is here. Our leadership is here. They're available to speak to anybody about any concerns. And then, of course, we've also got the housing management office, which is available to address any of their concerns also. Any questions for us at this time?
What is your process as far as, like for example, I called this 9:30 this morning regarding my sink not draining. We tried to fix it ourselves, so we connected, everything would come out. And my husband didn't get an email until 1:21 saying that it was received, the work order, and still when I left at 5 o'clock, no one was at my house yet. So what's your process for that kind of situation? I mean, is there, you guys pass it on? Is it something that they have to log in to see? So I have a better understanding and not feeling like I'm just being, not here.
Sure. It depends on what category that it falls into. We have 3 different categories for work orders: emergency, urgent, and routine. And if your sink is just not draining, that would be a routine work order. And they would have 72 hours in which to complete that work order. And so we try to respond to those as per the time that they came in. So they always go oldest to newest as far as their work orders that are assigned out to the team, and they just continue to click through those work orders as quickly as they can.
So, I mean, the problem is I have obviously is that I can't even use my dishwasher because it is connected to my sink. So anything back up from that is going to go back into my dishwasher. So I guess I don't see how that would be considered a higher priority than it just, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not needing to be sprayed. My house is to be sprayed. There's not, my carpet's not coming up. It's a plumbing issue.
Sure. And that sounds like it may be more of an urgent that we just need to look and see where that fell in the work order count.
Okay.
And certainly get out there and respond to that. But if you take just a moment and talk to Susie in the back, we can look that up for you and take care of it.
Yeah, because they didn't tell me anything about a 72-hour wait or anything like that.
And it's not going to. What it'll do is just tell you that we have received the work order and that it's scheduled with a technician, and that technician will call you and let you know when they're coming out to take care of it.
Yeah, usually they'll give you like a time frame, but that wasn't even offered.
Yeah, our system doesn't do that. It won't give you a time frame at this point.
Okay.
It just lets you know that it is scheduled. You certainly can call into the maintenance office though, and we can give you more approximate times if we have them available.
Sure.
Is that 72 hours to respond to the work order or to close out as complete the work order?
So it's to complete the work order. Any other questions?
So what we're going to do is, actually start with the actual open forum for the residents. I'm going to kind of put the mic back up here. And then at that point, we'll go ahead and open the floor up. Anybody that may have any questions that they want to bring forward. Anybody would like to come up and have any questions? You can come on up if you want. You're already standing. No, that's all right. Any questions, concerns, comments?
Yes, I will.
Thank you for coming up.
Sorry, I just got work. So I know that I talked to Belford Baby last time, this gentleman here. Any movement on the water softeners?
We did take a look at that, and unfortunately, right now, that's cost prohibitive against all the other priorities that we have. So I've got it up on my board, but right now, to go to that level for all the particular homes, it's cost prohibitive with all the priorities that we have. Right now, our priorities, honestly, are roofs, HVAC systems, things that are absolutely required, and taking care of the other things. So, I'll keep a track of it. If funds become available, we can readdress it.
But the other question I had, I'm not sure if you guys, it's just merely a suggestion on my part. I know that you guys have plenty of folks for the housing office. Has that ever been even brought up the idea that maybe have one of you guys living in big housing so you guys can actually see what we feel? I think that would be a good idea. And the second part to that is that way it'll get you guys to drive around to see exactly what we see. Because right now, where I live, there's a couple of things, such as people not picking up after their dogs. I take my dog out every day, twice a day, and I take plenty of bags. And there's bags throughout. There's bags at the parks, but not anywhere else. So I'm just a responsible pet owner, but I'm not so sure that everybody else knows that. Pick up after themselves, even though to me it's common sense. And then tree trimming, that way you guys can see, have a heartbeat as to what's going on in your housing office. To where I think, may not be true, that you guys come to work, civilians come to and from work, and you guys never actually drive around and actually see what we see. And that's just from my perspective, it's a senior NCO housing. That's all.
So, I will we have several residents that are part of our team, and some of them are spouses, and so they live there as their family, and then some of them live there as civilians. And so we are here, this is our home too. And so we are out in the neighborhoods looking all the time. Our staff also does weekly trips out to each of the neighborhoods to do discrepancy notices, and also to check for those items like lights, playgrounds, tree trimming, all those sort of things. We've been doing a lot of tree trimming lately. It's the season for that, so we're bringing everything up to a canopy of 10 feet and then taking everything off the houses right now. We're out the different neighborhoods. So that is actively going on right now.
And lastly, this other piece, you guys have been doing fairly well. I know that the pool just opened, but everywhere else that I've been stationed, we've had night hours. And here, I know that there's no outside lights, but it would be awesome because we all typically work 7 to 4, 7 to 5, 7 to 6. It'd be nice to come in on a Friday or Saturday and just kind of put your guard down. And it's not so stinking hot, and the pool is nice and cool. I'm not sure if that's even something that's on you guys' radar.
It is currently open until 8 o'clock at night. So it's 10 to 8 every day.
Not later than that.
No,
Even
it's
though-
not
even
just
though
because of
there's
the
a light
lighting issue, it is a safety issue. Some pools don't actually have lights in them, so.
All right, thank you.
So also what we wanted to bring up is that, as part of the process that we have in terms of listening to the concerns, what we have done within the Air Force in terms of what we're trying to do to help with some of the concerns is that, the Air Force has looked and said, okay, corporately across all the different bases, there's going to be an increased level of oversight that we're going to be responsible for in working with our housing providers, in this case here at Lackland, with BBC. As a result of that, in the past, we used to be able to do 100% oversight, check each of the houses. Over time, that kind of became a lot less. So that's one of the things that the Air Force is now looking at doing, is going back to that higher level of oversight to the point of even bringing in additional manpower. So when somebody moves out and there's a list of things that have to be done to get that house ready, before that house can be offered to somebody else and they can move in, then we would be responsible for going in and taking a look at that to make sure that did in fact those things get accomplished. So that is the Air Force's commitment to going back and making certain to our military families that if the house is in fact ready, is it in fact truly ready. So that is something that we're stepping up on doing, that we've been mandated to go do, and actually do more increased oversight, more increased viewing in terms of making sure that the houses are ready to go before a family member moves in. Any other questions?
Good evening, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody sitting here, appreciate you guys coming out tonight. A couple of small things. We live over in Medina, and we noticed there's a bunch of coyotes that come in the evenings, and they're gone again by the morning. A couple of nights ago, I was coming back, and I saw when they were coming in, there's not a hole in the fence, but there's a gate by the pump station there. It's about a good foot wide gap almost at the bottom. And a whole bunch of them just go right through there every night and run around. They don't bother me personally, but I'm sure that'd be better if we can close that up. So I don't know if that's a base housing issue or okay, I was going to say probably that is, yeah. I wasn't sure if anybody was aware of that little. It's not a hole in the fence. It's just the gate just happens to have a handle on it that they crawl right through there. The other thing is the gravel trail going up to the playground volleyball pit on Medina. That is horribly washed out already. My wife and I came up to go up there and play on it. And every time we come across it, we have to carry our small one and let it fall straight to the again on it. I know that was something that we had been addressed before as far as updating some of that. I'm just wondering how long it would be before that got fixed.
So that is one of our capital projects for this year. So it will be done this year this summer sometime. We're still working on getting the final bids in to get that completed, but that is a project for this year that'll be completed.
Okay, thank you.
And I do want to just correct myself on one thing I just remembered. The pool is open every day except for Monday. It is closed on Monday for servicing, so I just want to make sure I corrected that, Suzanne.
So I've never had a chance to actually be here for any of these, unfortunately, but today I got to be here. I did notice that you guys had talked about the hogs coming in, the boys and stuff. Is that also with Airman Scott Village? Because the area that I live in, they come in and they actually come up to my fence. We have lots of kids on my street, my court, about 28 actually. So they all like to play in that area, so it's definitely dangerous. Just want to make sure that was put out there, so I wasn't sure if that was, you're aware of that. But I do have a question regarding how you guys go about your yard care, as far as if it's within your fence, it's your responsibility, correct? So maybe I should be speaking for my neighbor, but I know that my neighbor had gotten a notice about some stuff that they had on the side of their house, which had been there since they've been here and has never been an issue. However, they have a fairly new airman living next to them that has never once mowed their yard, and it's extremely high, but they haven't received a notice, which obviously is going to cause, an area for snakes to come in and things like that. Like I said, with lots of kids who don't understand, some of them, that you can't touch everything. So I just want to bring that awareness to you. I miss the days when the Air Force was in charge of that kind of stuff, because I know that it was taken care of. You had the responsibility for it. But also I have a suggestion that I actually put in my survey, was to maybe have some kind of workshop for your residents, so they could learn how to do things that would free these gentlemen up from things that, we are capable of doing, have a sense of ownership and pride of their home, and they can concentrate on the things that are really things that we shouldn't be touching. So I don't know how to fix a leaky toilet, or, you know, like my drink, for an example. Just things like that would make it a little bit easier for your maintenance to do their job without feeling like they're having to stop for something that someone easily could handle themselves if they were taught. So I just want to suggest those things to you. Hopefully you'll take them into consideration. But I appreciate you guys doing this, and thank you.
Do you want to talk about? I'll talk about the maintenance. You can talk about the hogs. How's that? Okay. So I think that's a great suggestion about educating the residents on how to do things. We actually, she's not here anymore, Connie, who's our LifeWorks coordinator. We've been working with her to start to do some like maintenance 101 videos that we can put out on Facebook and also send out to our residents. Just, you know, how to reset your garbage disposal, or how to change your air filter, or different things like that we tend to get as repetitive calls coming in. I think workshops are a great idea too. Attendance is usually one of the things that we struggle with, is actually getting people who need the information to come out for those type of workshops. But if we could definitely, I think those are really great ideas, and we've been looking for different avenues to kind of get some of that information out, because there are quite a few work orders that come in that are things that are very simple that can be done with self-help or different things like that. We try to walk people through that, you know, how to reset the GFI breaker or different things like that in the bathroom. So we do work on that, but I think those are really great ideas. As far as the lawn care and the discrepancy notice, you know, if that is something you see and maybe we missed as we were out doing our neighborhood checks, very well could be, please let us know, because those are things we do want to take care of, and we want to make sure that that resident takes care of that lawn so that it doesn't create a hazard for those neighbors around them. So, you know, we take those confidentially, and you can just let us know, and we'll be sure to get out there and take care of those items.
Thank you. So I want to add on to the actual grounds maintenance piece. The reason why it's also critical, so ma'am, you're exactly correct. When the grass becomes higher, certain, smaller type animals, I want to say field mice or otherwise, it becomes a daisy chain effect. You have higher grass, which means you have mice. Mice attract snakes. Snakes attract coyotes or hawks, and then in turn attract feral hogs. It's just this entire cycle, which is why it's important for us to keep the lawns extremely to a height that it needs to be properly maintained, because it is a concern. So for us, where we can control is where we have that perimeter fence, we have to make sure that it is cut at a very low level, low height, so that we don't have even just those field mice having a tendency to come into base housing, which goes back to why are there coyotes. So I'll give you just two reasons why coyotes are there. Because they love cats, just to be candid. So if you have feral cats or neighborhood cats, coyotes, they're a natural food source is felines. So we have to make sure, how do you not want coyotes? Don't have your cats out there unless they absolutely have to be, or watch them from that perspective. If you leave food out, it's going to bring the skunks, the possums, the raccoons, which in turn brings the coyotes. So that's the relationship that we have to be very concerned about. So where you can help is to minimize those things, because I can catch hogs all day, or I can catch coyotes all day, but the demand signal is just going to be too high. There's just too many of them out there. We would rather have them stay out of the wooded areas and forage for their food, not come into base housing where it's easier for them to find something to chew on. So it's a very valid point. Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Yes, this is more of a suggestion, but just to piggyback on the last couple of things. I would mind if you guys would draft up a general reminder of the residents' responsibilities to pick up after your dogs. Since you guys put the poop station out at Medina, when I'm walking my Golden and I carry the bags too, there is more poop within 50 feet of that poop station than anywhere else, which is very frustrating. And that's not y'all's responsibility. It's the people that are walking their dogs. Remind people, there are people that just, oh, it's an outdoor cat, and they leave food out, and then there's constantly women or people on the residence page, be careful, there's a coyote, don't leave your babies out, don't leave food on your front porch. That should be common sense. Maybe remind them, but also other things like stop blocking the sidewalks with your trash cans and your recycling bins. There's a water hose that's often left out by the clubhouse and the pool, which I believe the lifeguards use to refill some days. There are people that let their small children just go out and pack and play completely unsupervised, and I've seen them repeatedly turning on the water and just playing and soaking each other and whatever else. I would think that's probably at least a little unsafe because it's a lot of cement right there. But it's just, I wouldn't have any issue with a little bit of a reminder of what is personally, a responsibility for people. Not everything is either your responsibility, and they're contributing to the issues.
Those are very good points.
In order for us to be successful, it's actually all three of us. You're correct. So we can do some parts of it. BBC can do some, but if we don't have, if the resident has to do their part, because if one of those breaks down in terms of that tripod, then none of us succeed. So I can have all the traps in the world, do all the pest management, but as long as there's food outside and people leave, I'm going to attract field mice, roof rats, tree rats, possums, squirrels. It doesn't matter, which means we're going to continuously have that situation show up. So you're 100% correct. So we'll work with BBC and try to figure out what we can do collectively to reinforce that both inside housing as well as outside. We can do some additional communication, go through the Air Force Facebook, do some stuff with public affairs, put it in the base paper, try to find ways to strengthen that from that perspective. Thank you.
I never lived on base housing before 2014, but I know the cost of homeownership in the Washington DC area. So I very much appreciate the level of services that Valkyrie has provided and continues to provide. I think a lot of what we're hearing is expectation management on both sides. What can we do as the people that are living in the community, and what can we do, what can we expect from our leadership? And I think too often we get a very performing team, and then, like you said, you're currently training new employees. Well, that happens often, and I think we as a community have to expect and respect that. And I think we have an unrealistic expectation of something broken, fix it now, you get my VA age. So this isn't I don't want to come off disrespectful, but I really wanted to thank Valkyrie for everything they did. They were very receptive to anything I had while I was here in housing, so I appreciate it. Thanks.
So one of the things that we're doing next week to continue to instill pride in terms of our base appearance. So the week of June 10th, we're actually doing Pride Week across JBSA. So we're partnering with BBC and look at things that we can do from the base appearance within Lackland. So for an example here, so outside of base housing, we do have the opportunity, at least in your work areas, If you want to come out, we have the ability to make improvements, whether it's cleaning up flower beds, doing certain things to make base appearance better. We're doing that and we're working that across the entire JBSA enterprise. So specifically here, if there's things that you see, we'll work with Balfour Beatty on things that we can also help, because it's not just, again, it's not just inside the housing area, it's also outside. So we can become part of that solution. What can we do to improve those areas so that as you drive into the housing community, you're also prideful that you're going in? We bear part of that responsibility. So those are the things that we're going to be looking at and trying to find ways to improve the base appearance. So if you have any recommendations that each of the 3 locations across JBSA, we have points of contact. If you want to know more about that, by all means, please get with us at the end of the meeting and we can get you the POCs from that standpoint. If it's a particular, if it's your unit here on Lackland, if you want to get with us, we can also do that as well. Yes, ma'am. We can. So what we'll do is we'll send a notice out as part of the e-blast within the housing community. So if you're outside of base housing, you will have received that through the facility manager, also through the executive agent, but we'll make sure we also get it through the housing channels as well. Any questions? So the question was, are there any concerns with summer safety? So the biggest tips that we have when it comes to summer, obviously with kids out of school, that does not mean that you can continue to just drive like you want. There's actually going to be more kids from that perspective. So the safety of traffic or otherwise, kids in the neighborhoods, that's always going to be a concern. Also, as kids go out there, we have pools. There are, going back to, we're talking about the concrete, we have to be careful when it comes to the safety aspects, because we're talking increased heat, dehydration comes into play, slippery surfaces come into play, and that's really going to be I'm a parent, it's a parent responsibility to make sure that your kids are not running on wet surfaces, because we can't expect anybody to go out there and say, don't let it be wet, right? It's just unrealistic. So those are things that do come into play. Also with the heat, I'll be quite honest, the pests will come out a little bit more, especially when it comes to they want water, they want cooler temperatures, and they want a food source. So those are the things that we have to be very cautious with. So if you have a tendency to leave water out for your pet, just understand that's going to attract something to come in and going to want that water source. So you just have to be very, very careful. And also be prepared that if you have things that you're going to, overturn or otherwise, whether it's a hose, whether it's a storage shed door opening or anything that's on the floor, you got to watch. Spiders become an issue, scorpions become an issue, because they're looking for warmer, cooler climate, moisture type issues. So you got to be concerned about those things. You don't want, a little kid to go out there, turn something over, and then they grab something and it becomes a scorpion or becomes a spider. Okay, those are the things that we have to be more concerned about when it comes to the summer months. Heat drives a lot of different conditions from that standpoint. And also understand, as we get into the summer, if we don't get any rain, water conservation will become a factor. We are set under the Edwards Aquifer Authority in terms of the water stages. Typically, when we get into stage 2, which typically happens fairly quickly in San Antonio, the ability for us to water our lawns becomes significantly different. And we typically stay in stage 2 for quite a while. If we don't get any further rain, towards the end of the summer, we usually get into stage 3, which means now the restrictions are even much, much less, which means our grass has a tendency to die. Base appearance becomes a little bit of an issue because we want to have that green lawn, but in reality, you're not going to be able to just stick out a sprinkler out there and just let it run for 4 hours. You're not going to be able to do that. There are going to be restrictions that we're going to have to do across JBSA. Yes, ma'am. So the question was, is there anything that you can do to help us when it comes to HVAC? With the summer coming on, that's typically the worst time that we have for HVAC. We expect to see increased HVAC calls where HVACs just have trouble keeping up with the temperatures. So I will go back. Part of this would be expectation management. So the senior master sergeant was a very, very valid point. So when the temperature is 100 and 105 outside, You cannot expect your house to be 62 inside. It's just unrealistic. You just have to understand that that's just not going to happen, right? Now, part of that is also is making sure that your filters are clean. That's going to be the first and foremost, because if your filters are not clean and they stay there long, then what happens? Your coils get dirty. Your coils get dirty, it doesn't cool. That becomes an issue. So also keeping things away from the intake as well as the outtake. Air has to be able to go in. If it's blocked, because sometimes people put, you know, my kids did, they put their softball gear or their gear out there, it's blocking the air going in, then there's no circulation. Same thing with the air coming out. If you have their vents closed because this room is too cold, but you want, it's a problem over here, you're already imbalancing your HVAC system. So those are the things that we can do that you would do no differently than I would do in my own house. So it's also understanding HVAC, again, if you want to come in, you want it 62, you're just not going to get it at 62. Okay, that's just, you just have to be comfortable from that perspective. Because if you turn it down to 62, you're constantly running that HVAC system, and what you're doing is you're putting unnecessary wear and tear on that unit, and you're running the compressor at the most hottest times of the day. And while you're doing it, especially if you're not going to be there. Now, if you have a pet, different story. But those are the things that we can do to try to give some life expectancy to the HVAC to where when you come to the house, you have the ability to be full. Any other questions? Any other questions? We're here all night. The chief said he's buying dinner for everybody the longer we stay.
Well, if there aren't any more questions today, just know that everybody up here at the table and everybody in the front row is here to answer any of your questions or concerns as they come up. And this is an open conversation. We will have those slides pushed out. Can we do that through the e-blast as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We'll do that. We'll send out some Proud Week information so we can help maintain our communities and instill pride in inside the housing areas and then within our work areas as well. But most importantly, we just want to say thank you. Thanks. It's been a journey over the last couple of months as we wrap our arms and get our hands on top of this problem that's challenging the Department of Defense, honestly. So I think thank you to Valper Beatty. You guys are leading the way, and we're grateful for that. You've made some great momentum in terms of answering the call and addressing the housing, our residents' concerns. But again, everybody's unique. Everyone has their own story, so we want to make sure that your story is heard, and we want to address it. And that's my job, is to help that conversation and make sure that you have the top cover and advocate for your needs as a resident in this community. So with that, we'll put this on Facebook, and we'll make sure the slides go out. And thank you to our PA team for being here tonight as well, and to the club for hosting us. With that, thank you all. Have a safe summer. We'll have another one of these in a month or two, probably towards the end of the summer. But just make sure, especially the HVAC concerns, those are very concerning, especially the supervisors in the room. You hear about the dorms and HVAC. That's my responsibility. So let me know, let us know as soon as possible when the HVAC is not working in the dorms in particular. All right? With that, have a great evening. Drive home safely. Thanks.